Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 3, Episode 37, the first recording of Episode 37. I'm one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is my co-host I have not seen in 2 weeks.
Paul, hey everybody, I live under a rock.
Yeah. So, obviously, Paul, for our listeners that listened to last week's episode, the second recording of Episode 36, you came back last week. We recorded a long episode with our buddy Sebastian.
3 hours.
For like 3 hours. It was the longest episode we had ever recorded. We took a break in between. You got some dinner in between. We continued it.
Yep.
And only 10 minutes of those episodes were like recorded. Then everything else was lost for some inexplicable reason. So, how you doing?
Absolutely heartbreaking, let me tell you, because I feel like I was in a rare form of negativity towards certain things, and it was just this round robin battle royale between me, you, and Sebastian, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna get that back. Or get the energy for that, rather. But yeah, I'm doing all right overall. I'm excited for Cyberpunk's 2.0 update, and well, we'll talk about the rest of that in a minute. But yeah, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, did you download the update? Because it's been live since the morning. Okay.
It downloaded during the day for me. I just need to go find my disc for it because it was one of the last games I bought on disc.
Yeah. Oh yeah, forgot.
Yep.
So, yeah, and so now I'm glad that you're finally back. Hopefully, we don't lose this episode this time. Like I made sure to make sure that Zoom doesn't like screw up again. But enough of that, because this is the X Bottom Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing. Available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And very, very soon, I'm going to be showing up at Sebastian's show in 2 upcoming episodes of the Single Player Experience. I'm going to let you all know when that happens. So, Paul, just to keep the continuity of things going that people didn't hear last week, but this will be the first time they'll be able to hear your thoughts on it. Let's talk about Starfield. I have finished Starfield. I'll say my thoughts until later, but people haven't heard from you in like 2 weeks. So, what do you?
All right, so let me come out of the cage swinging here, because Starfield and I have now a complicated relationship. I kind of went through the same process as I did with Cyberpunk with it, I think, except in a very truncated and quicker process. Because for Cyberpunk, for those that weren't listening at the time, I really loved it from the start. I was super hyped for it, played through it 100%, just super great, cooled off a lot on it. And then after its next-gen patch, native version, as you would call it, I ended up loving it again. Starfield kind of went down from really high, like absolutely loving it. I adore Bethesda games. They're comfort food for me. I don't even really mind the bugs, the issues, the kind of like janky nature of it, lack of quality of life. But the fact that the longer I got into Starfield, the more I realized that not only does it not exist with quality of life in a modern sense, it doesn't even have quality of life items that were there in Skyrim and Fallout 4. And that started to really eat away at me in a lot of ways. And in some ways, I was saying, I think last time I was on here, I was like, I love it like a 9, but
yeah, that people didn't hear you.
I think it's that was the one that people didn't hear me, and now I think I don't even know if I love it like a 9 anymore, because I believe one of the specific points that I made was that you just compare the factions, where you have Skyrim has like 12 separate different big main-ish, or at least close to main storylines. Fallout 4 still has like a good 4 decent factions where you can pick one of them and you work with it against another one, and it's crazy, even though people said that was a huge step back. And this one, you've got maybe like 5 or 6-ish completely independent storylines that don't even really connect with one another. Because you've got your main constellation, you've got the UC, the Freestar Collective, the Ryujin Industries, and Crimson Fleet, yes. And that's like the main, like,
Mhm.
there's nothing else that's going to come close to that, even close. And it just, after I burned through all of those, thinking that I was like, okay, those are the prerequisites. Usually that's the starting point for a lot of people playing a Bethesda game. And I felt like there was nothing else,
Mhm.
except go to these kiosks and get repeatable bounties that you just keep redoing for some credits, for some easy combat. Like, because you can't just run through the planet like Skyrim or Fallout, you can't just naturally find things. You have to intentionally go to a space. And because of that procedural nature of it, and how many thousands of planets there are, and how likely there is that there's going to be any curated content on that, is so
Mhm.
minuscule that it just left this hole inside of me that I put so much power and effort into this. Even after finishing all of that, I talked to you about it. I even looked up online. One of my buddies has been playing it. You built this huge dreadnought ship, C class, threw all of my money into it for my last day, and I like felt nothing.
Mhm.
Even though I was like, all right, I got this awesome ship. I'm just crushing everything. And I just sat there and went, I don't want to play this anymore. Um, and that hurt my soul a lot. And I probably say that a good amount here, but it truly did, because I wanted to like Starfield so much, and I think I still like it, but I don't. Yeah, as we've mentioned, I didn't even finish the main story.
Mhm.
With everything else that's coming out, I had a little bit of a tiny desire to play it yesterday, but instead I played the other two items on my list and
Mhm.
I didn't look back.
Yeah.
So now, unless something all of a sudden doesn't hit with me until the end of the year, I have no desire to actually go back and finish the main storyline. And
Mhm.
I hate that,
Especially
especially
in a
after
year,
how excited I was. And in a
especially
year like this.
yeah, in a year like this where you have actually finished a lot of the games, the
Yeah.
big games this year. So yeah, I finished it on Sunday. I have to also preface this, like, the final hours of this game coincided with a big family tragedy for me. Like, I lost my great grandma on literally hours after I recorded on Thursday. So it was like that considered with like the last few hours. So like my mind just wasn't in it because I had other things in my mind. But that also coincided at the same time where Starfield for me absolutely totally crumbled and became a buggier game. Was like the endless loading screens that required me to restart my console, the constant crashes, seeing like you didn't even mention how like New Atlantis completely collapsed on you on one of the in one of the parts
That's
where like
true. I
nothing
completely forgot about that. Both
that
that
what
and my ship just
mm-hmm.
like disappearing, not being interactable.
Yeah,
It just got so messy.
yeah, it has Skyrim's PS3 problem that the more you play it, the buggier it gets. uh I wouldn't say call it unplayable, but it's kind of like it's like the spell just eventually breaks. And at that point when that already happened, I had already done all the faction quests that I wanted to do. The only one that I ended up not doing was UC Vanguard, the one with the horror stuff. I only looked it
Yeah.
up. I was like, I feel like I've already put 75 hours into this game. Like, I feel that's enough time. Like,
Yeah.
I was already feeling deflated, and then like on top of like everything that had happened, I just kind of like just blasted through the story. And for all everyone says that the story is the best one that Bethesda has done, that's literally not saying much. Whenever I was like, you saw the meme that I posted right when I finished it, right?
Yeah.
It was the meme of the black guy with the drink with kind of like the kiss in the mouth,
Yeah.
as like, yeah, this wasn't all that. And you know what's the worst part is like it feels like it was a story that ultimately was just trying to justify the new game plus setting that everyone had
Yeah.
kept mentioning. Was like a pretty clever setup for this kind of game that it was basically Bethesda leaning into the fact that a lot of people are replaying their games and they wanted to make the replayability of their game kind of like in canon. I would say that I did enjoy how like right at the end it kind of tells you everything, that all the choices you make, this is kind of like what happens is this is how you're going to be leaving the universe as you go into a singularity that may reset the universe or take you into an alternate reality and all of that. And they also give you the option to be like, but you can also stay here. Like, you can keep, like, stay in this universe where you've done all of this, where you've recollected all your ships, where you've recollected all your loot and all that, and just stay living there. We'll be here if you want to go into the New Game Plus, basically. And I split my save in two. I kept a save where I'm, like, remaining in where I was, and then another save that I went into a New Game Plus. And yes, conceptually, it's really cool that now you're, like, your character has basically changed, like, heading into a New Game Plus. The fact that you lose absolutely everything, ships, loot, the only thing that carried over is your skill trees, awful. Like, I don't care what everyone said, awful. It's like, it feels like it invalidates, like, the investment that I did of, like, how much I explored, how much I looted, all the weapons that I had gotten. That I'm thankful that I kept another save, just that kind of like in the normal universe, because it was like, New Game Plus should feel like you're carrying forward your investment, like, further. And had I known, and had I known that that's how that's how much they were going to strip away from me, I would have just mainlined this a long time ago. I wouldn't have wasted 50 hours extra, just like kind of like doing the Vanguard stuff.
No, I feel like I told you all of that though.
Kind of like I didn't quite realize that you lost I remember about that. I remember about the skill trees. I just didn't realize everything else was going to be wiped. So yeah, then
I will say I get it from a story perspective, but I feel like they could have combated that to say, like, well, everything, just say, like, oh, you flew your ship through or something, so everything that's, like, on your ship with you, like, so you keep all of the stuff that's immediately available to you or something. Or even just say, like, oh, your ship got blown up in the process, but you kept, like, your armor and your weapons. Like, keep some of those items, but I don't know, man, it's such a tricky wire to walk, because then I understand why so many people were saying rush through the main storyline.
Yeah.
But I also understand why some of them were saying no, don't, because if you rush through it, you kind of defeat the power of that moment with doing New Game Plus. And I feel like now it's such a known secret that everybody knows the ending to Starfield more than what actually happens in the rest of it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's cool, but also I can see how it can rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, and then at a certain point, with me already feeling done with the game, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm done, washing my hands of it. Like, don't have any more desire to play until I hear further patches. Like, when we recorded last week, it came also with the news that they were gonna patch in maps into the big areas. Like, they were gonna patch up the brightness settings that somehow didn't make it into the game.
And I'm so glad I was validated in that, because I thought I was crazy with that whole, like, oh, just let the HDR do it for you. I was like, you mean I have to go into the TV settings to mess with this? So I'm glad that enough people were like, what the heck is wrong with y'all? Why would you not include a brightness setting on your game?
Especially for HDR, for one of the few Bethesda games that actually comes with baked-in HDR. If you're including a game with HDR, you gotta include, like, you have to manually, like, set it up in every game. That's kind of like rule number one with HDR. So it's like, so some weird things have been happening. So it's like, yeah, overall, like, I liked it. It's just that this is like what I would like to call, like, not in a very derogatory way, a shit sandwich. The bread was shit. The sides, the very beginning, everything that happened to me near the end, but the meat in the middle, like in that 20 to 50 hour period, that was when I was in love with this game. That was when I was mesmerized with the space exploration. It was exactly what I wanted. I said it last week in my solo episode. I repeat it again. Like, at this game at its best, like, it did deliver in spades. What I wanted was, like, exploring space, like the skybox nature of, like, getting into a planet and feeling like you're, like, just this tiny cog in a grand adventure. I feel this game really captures that really well. And despite, like, ultimately the story ending in a very anticlimactic way, but I also have to caveat that because I made myself a high persuader. I persuaded my way out of the ending, so I kind of made it anticlimactic by myself. Like, I completely, the game, it, like, allows you to skip the final boss. Like you can talk him out before you start combating. So
That is hilarious.
yeah, it is. So basically, like because of the build that I ran, like I had a very like calm anticlimactic way for it to end, which it's conceptually cool. It allows you to do that. At the point where I was, where I had run out of steam so severely on top of everything else, that was like I kind of screwed myself in that way for kind of like that final impression. But I have heard some of the crazy stuff was how the universe kind of changes the more you keep resetting. I saw like one that what happens when you like reset like 10 times.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it's supposed to change things. So do you know what it is?
It like I saw a video where your character, you see like 10 different versions of your character, each of them kind of like part of like the different factions that you picked. So it's weird. I don't want to like poo-poo it too much. It's like there's something cool about it, but this is far like it went. Remember, I said it's just kind of like my second favorite game this year. To like
I remember
tumbling all the way to like maybe by the end of this year it may not even be in my top 10 depending on how everything else shakes out, and that's kind of unfortunate because I really, again, kind of like you said, I really wanted to love it more than I ended up loving it. I applaud its success. They just recently announced that 10 million players played it. Obviously that also now includes Game Pass numbers. When they mentioned the 6 million last week, it was a little bit more impressive because it's like you knew that a lot of players had bought the early editions, like kind of like what we did, that we bought the early access, and some people actually bought the $100 edition on non-Game Pass systems. So that's how you know that this game had a fervor to it, and with good reason. Bethesda is big. There's a reason why Bethesda is like their games have been so enduring, or like just the name of when you name something like from the creators of Skyrim. That's kind of like a bit that was like, even though Fallout 4 had happened or Fallout 76, like this being a new a new game, new IP from the creators that brought us Skyrim, that had weight, because remember how big this was like 12 to 13 years ago, like during the Skyrim days. Like
and that's the fact that they said they've been working on this
since then.
Yeah, since then. It's just it's a little exhausting and disappointing at times, because it's like y'all put all of that effort into all of this, and it still felt like it barely managed to get off the launch pad. What am I saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like I keep saying, it hurts.
It's an ambition, like it's an ambitious game whose ambition eventually kind of got away from the developers in some ways. Some of that ambition eventually does hit, but a lot of it kind of like just crumbles in the end. And I will say, at the very least, I said it last week, I'm gonna repeat. I see this more like this is a good return to form for them after 76. Even though they didn't have anything to do with that game, the reputational hit they suffered for that game was steep. This at least repairs their reputation, even though I don't think it's like far and away one of the best things that came out this year. Obviously, there's gonna be people that said that is their favorite thing that came out of this year. Again, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. I think they're wrong, but they can also tell me I'm wrong for saying Final Fantasy 16 is my favorite thing from this year. So everyone has different tastes or different tolerance for different things. But yeah, overall I liked it. Shockingly, the 7 out of 10 reviews poll, they ended up feeling the most right. So and it's so funny because we're going to talk about him when we talk about this other game, but I was like a certain person had mentioned that he was expecting opinion changes around the time where people hit 50-hour marks and forward. Exactly what happened. So because that's kind of what happened to us.
And I have to admit that they were right, because I was talking to them not yesterday, 2 days ago, with all of that, and it was just how I was super optimistic, and they were like, no guys, alarm bells, red flags, watch out. And I was like, nah, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then it happened. So yeah, Starfield, like I don't know if you're gonna finish it, but I'm glad I finished Starfield. Where it lands at the end of the year, or if I even go back and do the final faction quest I ended up not doing, like who knows. But in a busy, like if this year wasn't as busy, I probably would have like stuck more with that game. But this this year just won't stop, Paul, because immediately, like, we finally got a taste of being able to play a game early, quote unquote early. I got a code for Payday 3. I got to review Payday 3. My review is out. It's up in seasongaming.com. Paul helped me review that game because Payday 3 is a game you definitely want to play co-op. And also, Paul and I, we are both cameos in the IGN review because we had just mentioned we both played with IGN reviewer Travis Northup, who I consider nowadays their star reviewer because he literally reviews everything now. It feels like he's the only person reviewing anything of note at IGN, like compared to like what IGN used to be back in the day where they had a bigger swath of critics. So yeah, my editor-in-chief, like, he got a Payday code, but he was reviewing Phantom Liberty. He was like, there is no way that I will be able to cover this. I'm still like in Cyberpunk, but they also gave us this code, so I kind of want to do good. So I was like, I'm done with Starfield. I was just finished playing Starfield, so I was like, I'll do it. Like, I know Paul wanted to do this, and I'm glad that it kind of worked with me account sharing with you. We got to play, and then Ains told me, yeah, connect with Travis because he's also reviewing it and do the co-op sessions with him. And we played with him and his fiance and us, the four capers. And negatives out of the way, this game is janky as all hell, like like Payday usually is. Terrible menus, like the menus will freak out or sometimes not respond. Performance and clipping issues out up the wazoo, but incredible level design, I would say, like that now allows for heists that can be completed stealthily, as long as someone doesn't throw a grenade or walk in front of a security guard.
You'll get so much of that,
Yeah.
especially if you random queue with people. It is just almost impossible.
Yeah,
completely.
but then only apart from only one. There's only 8 heists that launch with this thing. One of them is like in a bridge, which is very early on. Other than that one, it feels like every other heist that they designed, they have carefully thought about how a stealthy slinking through and community heist could happen in those games. Where we never really completed a 100% stealth playthrough because of some screw up sometimes, or us not figuring out how else we could go forward because we probably need more skill. Like more skill unlocks for that to happen. But it just, I think it adds more replayability to what they're attempting to do with everything they're doing with this game, because I had heard that you could do stealth with Payday 2. I played Payday 2 very little. I popped it in just to kind of get a feel to how it felt with compared to this one. Payday 3 feels so much better. Way better shooting, way better like visuals, way better like
real quick,
feel.
Did you play console or PC?
Console.
Okay, yeah. So there's actually a reason for that, and it's that
there were different versions, right?
They're completely different versions, because if you put them next to each other, they were like, it's not even like a port of it. I'm pretty sure they built 2 like concurrent, simultaneous pieces, because the console is always like a DLC or 2 behind the PC version. But boy, let me tell you, it's rough on console. And
yeah, but
PC
we're talking Payday 2 right now, not 3.
Yeah.
3 is more uniform. Yeah.
Correct. And I think that's on purpose because they probably had some kind of crazy issue with getting the console version. I don't really know their whole drama about the console version of Payday 2, but I'm pretty sure it's very storied.
I think it was because remember Payday 2 launched on PS3 and 360. On 2013, they were almost 10-year-old. Like those consoles were like long in the tooth.
There was a reason why I called it like GTA 5 after a while, because it was like a 10-year-old game that a lot of people were just like, I don't care. It hits a niche. So power to them. But anyway, for Payday 3, like you said, it's a huge improvement in a lot of ways, despite all of the crazy glaring issues, and that says a lot.
Yeah.
So I think overall I'm super positive on it. I'm really happy with it. It was really exciting, like actually a pretty big highlight of my gaming professional career in big air quotes. Getting to actually play with an IGN reviewer while he's doing his review, and then getting to appear in the video of the review.
You can see our gamer tags there.
It was a very like SpongeBob, there I am, Gary, and it's like a clip like half of my shoulder and my gamer tag for 2 seconds. But shoot, I'll take it. I took a screenshot of that so fast, I sent it to my brother. I was like, "Yo,
Yeah.
check me out."
Yeah.
He hasn't responded yet, so he might have disowned me.
Uh,
But yeah. Anyway,
it,
it was a
it's just a
really
nice,
good time.
it's a nice connection to have. Like I was getting to play with someone that's in the inside, like
Right.
in actual games media, because we're more in the content creator kind of like enthusiast side. Us that we record this podcast, we're not, and also me being in season gaming. Season gaming is like this weird niche where it's like it can be considered like games media, but it's not really because it's more of a fan site that has gotten credibility with like something getting review code and being an open critic and all that, but it's not IGN. That is like the top of the traditional press in gaming. So, and getting to hear some of like behind the scenes like juicy stuff like how they approached some reviews and all that was really cool to get that conversation going. So, and also because I've known of Travis for a while because I used to listen to IGN's very like popular Destiny show, Fireteam Chat. It's one of the reasons why I actually like became a big Destiny player, because when I saw that I became a podcast listener thanks to IGN, their PlayStation podcast, their Xbox podcast, and things like that, and or the general Game Scoop gaming podcast. That's what kind of got me into the tradition of listening to podcasts. When I saw that they did a gaming centric, like a game centric game, just laser focus on a single game, that was like, huh. It's interesting. It's like, is this game that big that it's worth like a weekly show? And they ran that show from 2015 all the way to 2021 for 300 episodes. They eventually finally stopped it because the different changing priorities for the IGN and all that. But it's like through that, like I learned of Travis because he started becoming the official Destiny reviewer over at IGN, starting from Shadowkeep onward. He's reviewed every expansion. It was funny, kind of how I mentioned, he was the one that during review progress of Lightfall, he gave it a 5 out of 10, and like the entire community like went up in arms and be like, oh whoa. It's like, yes, this expansion is not that great, but it's not that bad. So it was so funny that his review like created even like it's so funny. Paul Tassi from Forbes called it the backlash to the backlash to Lightfall, and it's so funny. And then Paul Tassi and Travis are like frenemies. Every time that they're both together in a Destiny show, it's always aim again. Like they're always in complete opposite spectrums of like opinion. They're always like arguing against each other. It's always so funny. So it was fun, like knowing who he was and getting to talk to him. Like who he also does the weekly podcast for Season Gaming over at the Bitcast. So he's like a regular in that show. So I constantly hear from him. So that I thought that was really cool, and getting to play with him, his fiance, like the highs that we got to see. Not one of the best games this year, but one of the most fun I've had playing a game this year. Like
Definitely.
Like,
It might go on my list somewhere just for that fact, because the fact that yesterday I got to play by myself, it just queued up with randos, and you could still have so much fun just like mindlessly shooting all of the enemies, figuring out the puzzles, just like it's chaos, everything's falling
exactly.
apart.
It's like I feel like they made a nice game where going loud and going quiet is just as equally rewarding. It's not like for you not going stealth, you're being penalized. I know that's kind of like that was your big hang-ups of playing something like Hitman. Like if you're feeling like I couldn't slink away, I want to like go all arms up, and then you feel like you're getting penalized for every kill or for like not being quiet and all that. I feel this game like accounts for that because they know. It's just it knows like if it allows matchmaking, there's no way in God's green earth that's gonna be like a stealthy thing. Not at all, because you need my phone just rang.
Oh, I was like, what was that?
Yeah. So it was like I lost my train of thought, but it at least knows that it can be a fun game, like either way. I'm glad that I like doing stealth. I was shockingly bad at this one. So it's like I'm usually really good at it.
That was really funny. I wasn't gonna bring it up because I didn't want to loud cap you, but you who were like a just chief, like OG Splinter Cell purist, really good at all stealth that doesn't allow you to do anything, was like bumbling around on this one. I was like, what is going on?
I know. I was having brain fart.
Doing good at stealth.
Yeah, so it was so it was so funny where that was happening, and the names that Travis was calling me were so funny. I even saw
crushing you. That was That was kind of insane. I was like, I'm so glad I
Yeah,
am not the one messing up here because I don't have the heart to
yeah,
deal with this.
yeah. Especially because of the like we messed up an early one because bad design decision that mask on and grenade it's the same button.
Yeah,
Because I was holding LB like to hold it up. I kept it hold it on, and then it popped the grenade. I was like, oh no, and it ruined the run. Then late in that one where we needed to like deactivate the kind of like the alarms that was like in the loot, and we both had like our two. I deactivated one, and then when I deactivated, I grabbed it, and it didn't give me the prompt to deactivate it. Also, so that completely like messed it up. So
yeah,
and then it ended when we were walking out, like a AI suddenly showed up in front, and I didn't go in inside. So so
just
that
all
that
the way
ended it.
messed up. It was great.
Yeah, though we did good with the art museum.
Yep,
Like we did all
that
of that
was
stuff
really
as
fun.
as far as we could like push it, and then it was like, yeah, it's like civilians are here, we're way too many. Yeah, we gotta go like loud. So that was and that one wasn't my fault. So it was funny. It was fun times. Enjoyed Payday 3. I gave it a 7. So I feel this is an absolute 7 out of 10 game, which is so funny because Starfield is also that, and people are gonna be like, I cannot believe I both games at 7. It's like, I mean, different genres, but it's like they're both good.
Yeah,
They're just
it's
good
funny
games.
because it just really depends on what you're trying to go for, I guess.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
Payday 3 would
Payday
be
is
better.
like
Yeah,
7 with like an affectionate terminology, and Starfield is a 7 with a derogatory one.
yeah,
Like, oh,
because
you're a 7, but Payday's a 7 too.
I know. That's a 5. So, and I feel Payday 3 because it's not a live service. It's like the worlds they're oyster basically. So if they are able to get more heists in relatively quick because this is a live service game, if however they're trying to monetize this game doesn't like interfere with the loop of leveling up your character and unlocking more weapons and more costumes and all that, and it happens frequently, and at the and the levels that they put in are of the same caliber, that are just as well designed as the ones that the game launched with, like this game will have a bright future. And on top of it, launching on Game Pass, it's like it has the perfect like launching pad right now to have enough of a player count that people can be like, hey, if you have Game Pass, let's play. So at least they've ensured that they have ensured that they can find some success. Like we played it on Xbox, we could have played it on PlayStation, but I'm glad that we didn't, if I'm perfectly honest. So it worked perfectly fine on
I
Xbox.
think it's gonna have plenty as long as the crossplay stays a thing, because
It
I
launched with
can't
crossplay.
remember. Right, but I was trying to remember if it. I don't know if you could play with people on console if you were on PC, but I know
Now you can.
there was no cross progression previously. So yeah, it was just a pain in the butt to play on console. I know that much. But PC was like live, thriving, so easy to find a match. I actually feel like Payday 3's system took a step back, because if you remember, Payday 2 had the map, and you could just see all that were available. If you have like 3 that needs one, you could just click on that one instead.
Now there's just a line. It's just like a line, just go all the way left
You
to
could
find the
just
different heists.
pick one heist and hope for the best. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'm hoping that they change things up, honestly.
And again, and this is how it's starting. Like it's starting in a janky, like kind of threadbare way, but what's there, it's promising. And I can't wait to, and the good thing, it's a small download file. I'm gonna keep it installed, like in our Xbox, because as soon as I hear like more stuff, I would love to keep playing more of it. Because me, that so much of this year I've been like, I want to play more co-op games with your games that we can play together. That has not like really played out like as I wanted it to. But this is different because this is not story based, so it's much easier to just jump in and out. So yeah, good game with Payday 3. I enjoyed reviewing it. It was my first multiplayer review. That's not Destiny for this year for Season Gaming. So I have reviewed now for them since I joined. But so let me count. I did Evil West. I did Crisis Core. I did Forspoken. I did Metroid Prime Remastered. I did Destiny 2 Lightfall. I did Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I did Zelda. I did Final Fantasy 16, and now I've done this. So that's 9 reviews in like in close to a year. So
my gosh, you are definitely as close to a machine as they come.
No, that's what Ains told me. You're a machine, because we got the code on Monday. I got the review 2 days later. So, and I was glad because this has been like insert meme poll, the one that I told you to make, because yeah, I'm gonna put in. It's like this is how it feels like. all these pancakes and different games that I can be playing. Like this other one that came out this week was shockingly good, and I'm glad that not only was it shockingly good, it worked in our system. Lies of P, the Pinocchio Soulsborne game that's very inspired by Bloodborne with a little touch of Sekiro. I tell you, Paul, I pleasantly surprised at how good it feels.
Extremely, because I was somebody who was kind of a detractor, if not like really pessimistic about it. Because I was just like, I don't know, man. I've seen so many people trying to copy that formula. I don't know if they're gonna nail it. It looks like vaguely creepy and vaguely based on the events of the Pinocchio myth. And I was like, I'm not a big Pinocchio guy. I'm out. And then hearing you sing its praises for a little bit, and then I was like, it's free, it's on Game Pass, I'll try it. And after like the stepping out of the train, I looked around at the station and like felt the ambiance, saw the rain, and I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, they got it.
Yeah. And not only that, and then when you're moving, when you're controlling your character, the way like attacking feels, dodging feels, blocking feels, is like, it's so close to it's the closest I feel one of these games has felt like a From Software game. Obviously, there's still the From Soft feel of things. That's always going to be unique to them, but this is the closest it's felt. I felt at home immediately. Like as soon as I finally got like the parry window down, it feels so nice. Some of the things that they've added, kind of like the prompting of where you can do the charge attacks to kind of like stagger, to do like the big, what would be like the what was the move called in the Souls games, like the big stab. Was it the riposte? No, not riposte.
Oh gosh, it's
I'm
not the fatal attack, because that's what it's Lies of P is what it's called. Yeah, so I can't remember, but the one where they drop to their knees, you stab them through the chest or through the back. It used to be called backstab, but you can do it through the face if you get them parried and stuff. So I don't even know what they call it.
Yeah, in this game you can backstab, and you can do that like in the front if you stagger them, high energy enemy, like holding the right trigger to do like a big attack that then brings them to the knees and does that. And I do like that. If you want to block, like this also a rather forgiving block system for this game, where obviously you can block attacks. You lose a little bit of health just by blocking, but it also has the Bloodborne thing of like, if you attack immediately, you recover that health, all the health that you lost while blocking. Though if you get hit without blocking, you can recover that health. So it's like there's like an interesting balance that they pursued with this game. That if it wasn't for everything else that's coming out right now, Paul, I was like, yeah, it's like this is one that I definitely want to see through. A big patch happened today. That means that I'm gonna go play. Finally, I'm gonna go play Cyberpunk. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. And also,
the second we're done here,
I'm
like, dropping this.
I was actually playing Cyberpunk right before like you joined, because I wanted to see it. The light and day difference, just visually, Paul, from going from Starfield to that game. Oh, it's like, whoo! I tell you, it was insanity, absolute insanity. Like the visually going from Starfield to Cyberpunk is. And I'll say this, they fixed the 4K mode of the console version. Like, beautiful, because it was like if you played the 4K mode before, when the game launched February of last year, it felt sluggish to move around. So of course you wanted to play the 60 frames mode because it was just going to feel better. Now they did something to the controls where it feels right if you want to play it in 4K, especially because the visuals somehow look even better than it did in February. This is all part of the 2.0 overhaul that they did to the game. So it's like they have done like nice tweaks that this feels like next gen. I sent picture and even and this is just me playing on console. I've seen what that game looks like on a high-end PC. Pathway ray tracing, Paul, it feels like it's 2 generations ahead. Like it's absolute photorealism to like. Do you get to see that picture? Those pictures that I sent yesterday?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all those.
It made me so excited, the fact that I was just killing myself wanting to play the game already.
Yeah.
I've been like planning myself on what I'm going to pick, how I'm going to do it, and all of that. I'm so excited to go back to that game.
Yeah, and now, real quick, are you gonna start a new save? Like, are you gonna start from the beginning? Okay. How long is the campaign? Like, main story. If I would just wanted to mainline, not do.
If you only see, that's where I'm not sure, is because I don't know if it scales with you. So I think you have to like not grind, but there's certain areas where they're like, go do some other stuff and then come back when you're the right level for it. But I would say like 20-ish hours if you just mainlined and then like did tiny other things just to like round yourself out a little bit.
Yeah, I was just wondering because Phantom Liberty launches next week. And people say that there are people are recommending do Phantom Liberty at the end. Like complete the story and then do Phantom Liberty. Don't do it like backwards.
Apparently Phantom Liberty is like I think it was Gene that said it, but he said it was the best storyline and quests since Witcher 3. And I was like,
yeah.
I remember ACG said that it was basically like you wish you had more coming because you got the best meal you've ever had, and then you find out that the restaurant's closing tomorrow. So it's like, man, that kind of hurts to hear, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm gonna just try to enjoy this as much as I can.
Yeah, it's gonna be this between these Lies of P and Resident Evil 4 separate ways for me this next week. But I definitely, this is the moment where it's like I have put off Cyberpunk for 3 years now. I had a horrible first impression. I was on base PS4. Then when I got my PS5, like, and I tried the PS4 version in it, and I saw that the faces of characters were like becoming owls or looking down. I was like, this game is still kind of broken. And then it immediately crashed on me. I was like, nah, this is still not it. And then the next gen version that I said I was gonna wait for launched the same week as Horizon and Elden Ring and Destiny 2 the Witch Queen last time. So it's like, it's just been like I have had more priority to play other more current stuff than this one. But I feel now with Phantom Liberty being a current thing, now I have the excuse to finally play it. You went back last year.
I did.
And
I was tempted to put it in my top 10, revisiting that. And you were like, can't do that. It wasn't this year. I was like,
no, you could have. You could have.
At first. I think,
because
I can't remember if I ended up putting it there at all.
You didn't. You ended up putting The Witcher, though, which was so funny because it was
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, because those... I told you, if a version of a game comes out in that year, that version of the game makes it eligible.
Yeah.
Obviously, next year, I put the challenge that our top 10 is games that we've finished, which easy this year. It's been very easy this year for that. So, but I'm glad because I'm glad that my patience paid off, because now it feels like this is the Cyberpunk that I expected this game was going to be back in 2020 before the calamity. So it feels nice that I save myself for that. Now I'm gonna have like my first pure experience is gonna be that. I would hope that I'm gonna see some of the funny glitches that you kept posting, like the car that flew from like a bar into like the thing. Remember that one from last year?
I still think about it, where I was just chilling, I was turning, and then the thing like crashes into the side. Oh man, I'm sure I'm still gonna get so much of that, but those are the kind of glitches that I love. I get a kick out of them. I can't wait to just break the game again and do all sorts of nonsense to it. And I said to you, and I'll say it on the record, that if this nails it, this Cyberpunk 2077 is going to go into my top 10 games of all time.
Yeah, I don't doubt it at all, because if there's something that has been very common in the Cyberpunk Defense Force, I like calling it, is that even when it was at its very worst, people were like, there is something good in there. Just you wait. Like, there is something. There absolutely is something. And now it feels like that something is shining. So, does this excuse the horrendous way that it launched? No. Does it mean that it can't be great now? Also, it's like, both things can be true. You can always like hold CDPR the feet to the fire for what they pulled off 3 years ago, but it's like you can also give them praise for sticking to it. And look where we are now, where it's one of the best reviewed things of this year, or like immediately eclipsed Starfield already. So enough where I was like, maybe Microsoft should have bought CDPR if they wanted to buy an RPG thing. Like if what they wanted was the prestige, but Starfield was a huge success for them. So it's like they win because they get both. So enough of that, Paul. Like, it's time for a few news items. So press X
for some news.
Some quick ones to start off. This one is of great excitement for you. Story number 1 at Game Informer from Game Informer's Kyle Hilliard. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has gone gold. Insomniac Spider-Man... Yes, Insomniac Spider-Man sequel has gone gold. If you're not familiar with the gold term, it means that the game is complete and ready to be submitted to Sony's online servers and be printed to discs. It doesn't mean the game is completely done. Insomniac will continue to update the game and bug squash in the coming weeks and months, but the version that you will be able to play when the game releases October 20 is ready. To celebrate the news, the game's cast celebrated by shouting and throwing their hands in the air, among other celebrations. You get to see that video, Paul, that I sent of Tony Todd?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my god, you have to see it. It's all the actors. So Yuri Lowenthal, Laura Bailey, Tony Todd, and all of them kind of like celebrating, and Tony Todd making his Venom voice, like saying,
"Oh, I saw that you'd posted it, and I couldn't listen to it at the time, so I didn't stay long enough to actually see what happened."
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go back to that now. But I'm so
the videos in
ready
that,
for this.
The videos is there in
Awesome.
the article if you want to like see it. But
I've been holding off on talking about my excitement for this, both because of like your same fear from God of War Ragnarok on like what if it doesn't, what if something happens, what if it's not good, but also I've just been eating so good this year that I haven't been needing to look more than like a month or two out for the next big game that I really want to play.
Right, it feels like it's always so close, right?
So nice, not feeling like, oh my gosh, this is 6 months out and there's nothing else for me to play until then. Now it's like, all right, I'm glad that's out there because I'm eating 3 games at once. But finally, it's almost time for Spider-Man. And let me tell you, because the storylines between Venom and Kraven the Hunter are freaking awesome. Venom is probably my favorite Spider-Man villain / rival, whatever you want to call him.
Mine's Doc Ock, but
like it used to be Doc Ock for me, and then the '90s Spider-Man show introduced Venom, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." And then I also played the PS1 Spider-Man game,
and Venom was like
really cool in that. So
an
I was
early
like,
villain,
right.
And also the early villain, because at the end of the game is Doc Ock.
And then became like your buddy to help you out fighting Carnage. The black suit Spider-Man, that was the first time I ever saw that as well. Spider-Man 3 was like my favorite of that trilogy of Spider-Man movies for a while, unironically. Because of Venom and the black suit. So it's like that was
I'll give you like some slack with that. I wanted Spider-Man 3 to be my favorite, and I lived in denial for a while.
That was fully like I had no taste on that one, but that was just like the most fun Spider-Man for me for some reason.
And the thing it still is. It still is. It's like that
great.
movie's great. That movie's great comedy. Like it's like a great comedy to watch now. It's a bad like because it's not as it's definitely the worst of those 3. Like if you look at it like objectively, but it's definitely fun. It's not heartbreakingly disappointing like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, a movie that has incredible highs that you just hate that the movie just wasn't great because it has the best moments in any Spider-Man movie ever, visually and like dynamically, or how they portray Spider-Man moving in that thing. So them going like Insomniac going gold just when they said they were gonna go, like they announced it. Like, I tell you, Paul, it's like we had a typical long argument with our buddy Sebastian yesterday in our group chat. And I tell you, it's like part of me feels bad that Insomniac doesn't get like the flowers they deserve. They have released, Paul, 4 games already this generation in the same system. Even if one of them is in a remaster, they already released 3 full games: Miles Morales, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and now this one. They all hit when they were supposed to hit, no delays, and they're never like.
I can't believe it, honestly.
Yeah. And they're like but that's the thing. Like I put a meme yesterday. Like, you see the meme of the oh no. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
It feels like them doing a great game. That's how the industry sometimes treats them. Like, oh, it's great. Okay, yeah. Anyway, like, like this could legit be like, obviously, like there are other external forces at play. Like, I am not the only. Like, I'm being very vocal about it, but Marvel burnout is real. And the burnout is like so real that you even have the director of the Marvels basically sandbagging the movie yesterday, kind of like saying, "Oh yeah, this is a Kevin Feige movie. I basically just had to sit back and let it play out." That's as clear as day, like a sentiment. Like, yeah, I'm just like washing my hands so that they don't blame this on me. I feel that movie could be bad. They're just thinking about that as like people like celebrating that 3 movies overtook like the box office this year, and they were not Marvel movies. Like people celebrate, even though they were still 2 of them were adaptations of something, like the Mario movie, the Barbie movie, and now Oppenheimer. Like people celebrating, yes, Marvel is not at the top. It's like there is that feeling towards Marvel, which Insomniac is totally separate of that, but it's like it's working on an IP associated with a company that is currently struggling to come to a fair deal to its writers, that have had their tenders so filled of things that just an association for working on an IP game, I feel like people don't give Insomniac the credit they deserve, where they are carrying an entire console on their backs. The quality of their games is excellent. Their games are the most fun to play out of all of them. Like I said, it's like there's something, and I have to kind of like, damn it, add another pancake to my meme that we're gonna insert. I have to replace Spider-Man because Sebastian asked me to do an episode with him in the lead up for Spider-Man 2, so I have to play it 2 again. And I wanted to because I wanted to replay Remastered again.
I mean, it's another of my comfort foods. I just go back and play missions from that game and just enjoy the heck out of myself.
Out of all the games from the Sony portfolio, this is like one of the big budget ones that's so easy to pick up back up. Like God of War is not that easy to like pick up again. Like that has to you have to kind of like build it up again. So it's like
you have to commit to like a full replay.
Yeah, and this is why I tell you, is like I feel like Insomniac right now, they are the biggest. Like why they release so many, because they're such a big team. They have many projects cooking.
You said they have like 3 separate
teams,
right?
Yeah. The one that's currently working on Spider-Man, the team that was like working on Wolverine, that's now ramping full production, and now a third one for an unnamed game that it's probably gonna be multiplayer or something like that. But which, hey, Insomniac is so versatile. They could pull
with
something.
them, they could be one of the people that I'd trust with a multiplayer project.
Yeah, especially if they know how to. They did great multiplayer with Resistance, I tell you. Like,
I kind of wish I'd been able to actually play that. That's one series that
completely skipped you. Yeah, it's like right now, it would feel even better at a time where story-based first-person shooters are very few and far between. Like the last one I played was Immortals of Avium, and even that was like a weird pseudo shooter. But it's like it was that kind of game. It's like a story heavy, meaty, like with good creative weapons and like cool enough story. It's like Insomniac is like, I tell you, is low key Sony's currently best developer. Like just in output, unmatched. In quality, people may want to throw that. It's like, but it's like, look, their games never get like the praise that the Naughty Dogs and the Santa Monicas do. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Because they're working on an IP game. It's kind of like this, the Oscars thing. Like working on those kind of properties, people like to nudge their noses and like downplay the quality, even if their quality is objectively better than other things. Like I feel like they are one IP away now that they're currently with this level of quality. Because here's the thing, like the Resistance trilogy, Sunset Overdrive, even Fuse, like the last time that they did a new IP, not even remotely close to the quality of like when they did Spider-Man 2018 leveled up that studio. Like it leveled up like their cachet and all that, and obviously that was like served well with how much they sold. So they got like a massive financial success is what prompted them to be acquired by Sony finally. And since then, quality wise, they upgraded because they got Sony talent joined the team, like help elevate like their cachet. Now that they've elevated, a new IP would be amazing because it would be like, and they're the team. They're absolutely the team that they could keep still getting the bag, keep doing your superhero games. Like, I mean, they stuck with. I read you how many Ratchet and Clank games they made since 2002. Like, they're a team that is capable of like keeping a franchise going. But I feel it's also a team that I want them to get like their Leo DiCaprio. You mentioned it's the Leo DiCaprio moment.
Yeah, to like finally get that recognition for all of that. extra work.
Yeah, and obviously, like I have said before, I don't feel Game of the Year should always be like the be all end all of things. But I also
Yeah.
believe that at least earning it once can help like bring you to like the next level of like respect.
Hmm.
In fact, like in one case, like for example, for Sony Santa Monica, Game of the Year is like what saved that studio. After, remember, God of War was like the 2018 game was the game that they made after they canceled a new IP, so they were like in the rocks. So on top of that game selling really well and reviewing really well, it earning the high marks of 2018 at the end helped clinch a comeback for that studio. Now they're like considered high. That me and Ragnarok, obviously, I've said my things about Ragnarok right now, and I don't feel as high about it as I did in their previous game, but
Yeah.
that was the second best reviewed game last year. And, like, it sold a lot. It was like everyone knew that game was gonna be like the big fighter in the Elden Ring race. So it's like they had that, they earned their cachet. I feel Insomniac is next, and I kind of want them to, because I feel like everyone still holds Naughty Dog in that kind of pedestal, and I feel they're not that right now.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we've had our several episodes worth of discussions on Naughty
the
Dog,
last,
so
yeah,
I think that's a very fair assessment. And
mm-hmm,
like you said, that I said,
mm-hmm,
it's great for a really long time, especially if you want to just like make the money, make the cool
mm-hmm,
superhero games. Sebastian's point was that if they stop, then who's going to do it?
mm-hmm,
And I kind of understand that to an extent of, yeah, nobody else is doing this, and not even close to this kind of level of prestige. I
mm-hmm.
mean, just look at the Avengers game.
Yeah,
I hate to keep bringing that one up, but it's a dead horse that's worth
yeah.
a cautionary tale.
A cautionary tale of like of
But
doing it bad, of doing it badly.
yeah, but at the same time, I don't think that Insomniac should be punished for the fact that nobody else is even trying.
Mm-hmm.
So if they ever wanted to, I would say they should absolutely put themselves towards a new IP if they really want to.
Yeah, and they've done 3 Spider-Man games now. You could maybe say 2.5, like if you want to be cheeky.
I mean, I would absolutely say they could, because Miles Morales expanded on the mechanics of Spider-Man, even if the map was the same.
Yeah, it was still a fairly meaty game. It's still one of my favorites on the console. So, and it is the reason why I'm gonna main as Miles Morales as much as I can when I play this new one, because I love his Venom powers. But
I can't decide which one I want more.
Yeah,
I really love the Venom powers of Peter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they switch around Peter's feel, imagine like if they make playing us both like worth it, that'd be cool. So
I think that's what they were saying, because even when he doesn't have his symbiote, he has like different things like those spider arms to kind of
permanent
recreate
now.
it.
They're permanent now instead of the L3R3, one of the many upgrades that you could put in the original. So
yeah, so I think that's what they're doing to let Miles get his own feel, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah, congratulations to Insomniac for keeping proving that they're the most shrewd acquisition Sony could have made. Imagine if they had not bought Insomniac when they did.
Oh my gosh! Now
at the price that they were able to acquire them for.
Yeah,
like
it's ridiculous.
They're really worth billions for what they're doing for that console, and this game's gonna sell a lot, and I really hope it's great. I just know that, just knowing the industry, this game's gonna go thoroughly ignored by year's end, just for it being a licensed game. And I feel this is a studio that deserves better for. They are working
unless
so
they
hard.
really hit us with the good, like something that makes the word of mouth so powerful that everyone just stops and goes to take a look at it. I don't know, but I just hope that it gets its flowers.
Yeah, I really hope they have earned their flowers, and obviously they have another Marvel game coming with Wolverine, so they're still gonna be in that bag. But I keep saying, it's like, doing a new IP and something, just prove everyone, be like, yes, it's like our best work can still happen, not just on an IP license that is this dangerously close of like finally like collapsing on people just wanting something new. And I don't want them to go down with the ship on the sentiment, because how many times did I tell you I heard so many Game of the Year discussions in 2018, and when Insomniac was like when Spider-Man was like mentioned, they were always like, yeah, this is really good, but it's just a Spider-Man game. I kept hearing that over and over and over, and I was like, that is so thoroughly disrespectful for the work that they had done, especially for the quality of Spider-Man game that they had made in 2018. But that's how it seemed. Like, that's what working on IP licenses is kind of like always going to be seen as. So, like, I expect no love for Jedi Survivor this year either. And I really did like that game, even though like
Yeah.
going back to it now,
Mm,
the spell may have like been irreparably broken. Now when we
it
see that
was
compared to
it
other
was
things,
painful. Let me tell you. Because did that get lost, or did we at least get to mention that?
you never mentioned it. You never
Oh
mentioned
man,
it.
so
Yeah.
yeah, just as like the quickest of quick mentions, I went back to Jedi Survivor, and it immediately did two like really broken things for me. It got really janky. All of the like assets that are supposed to ruffle and like move onto your character were just like jittering around like a mad
Grease
person.
was T-posing while before
Breeze
like
was
yeah.
T-posing. Texture colors and textures on assets underneath your character were appearing on his jacket as you walked past them. It was wild. And it really messed me up. And fortunately I had stopped just before the big betrayal moment and
Mm-hmm.
crazy chase scene. Unfortunately, that whole scene, I remember it when it was released felt really janky, and I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to do like a suspension of disbelief to feel the power of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, I was like, this whole segment kind of sucks actually. Um Let me just tell you on like big spoilers for Jedi Survivor real quick.
Yeah.
The fact that a Jedi stands there with a gun in his face does nothing to like stop the process of getting shot to death.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just nobody is like, hey, let me just grab his blaster, do something like he literally does like 2 hours later in
Mm-hmm.
game. Um, the fact that, oh my gosh, just like this whole chase, there's only one speeder bike the entire rest of the game in that zone, but during that mission, there happens to be two there. Don't know why. Um, all of that just insanity with like Seer beating Vader and
Mm-hmm.
like then magically being able to just get stabbed right at the end, like
Mm-hmm.
just really downplaying Vader's power in that
Mm-hmm.
whole sequence,
Yeah.
while also playing up how powerful Seer is, which I feel
Mm-hmm.
like just doesn't fit right. She
Mm-hmm.
felt like the prologue boss from was it Starkiller's dad at the start
Mm-hmm.
of The Force Unleashed. That's what she felt like all of a sudden, where she's like ripping ships out of the sky and murdering an entire
Mm-hmm.
army. Like she felt like Mace Windu in the Clone Wars 2003 animated show.
Uh-huh.
None of it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just all of that process just felt like a weird downhill spiral all of a sudden. And yeah, I needed to get that off my chest. It hurt to go back to it and watch like, oh, I don't remember this being as bad as it was. I hope they
And here's the
continue to
thing, Paul.
fix it.
I feel it's gotten worse with each patch. I don't remember it being like
Yeah,
that. They fixed
they broke
performance.
something.
Yeah, they fixed
The
performance, but I
that
had a
memory
friend.
leak, they never got that sorted, did they?
I don't even know. Like, look how long it took them to finally provide rock solid 60 frames. But
Yeah.
that frame rate also comes with like still basic functionality, still like being very janky. So it's
And for
unfortunate because
that
it's
to
like,
be, was it Stig Asmussen?
yeah, Stig Asmussen left.
Yeah.
Like he recently left. Oh crap! Yeah, that happened sometime in
Hmm.
like we lost Stig Asmussen, who the guy that said, yeah, I'm picturing the Jedi this Jedi games to be a trilogy. The guy that said
Yep.
that now out of respawn. So it's like, what'll happen to that third game now? Like, really?
We can just hope for the best, I guess. In once again, unfortunately, it seems Dave Filoni we trust, to just single-handedly continue the canon of the Star Wars universe.
all the time. But I definitely like, especially right now with Resident Evil 4 that I'm gonna play through separate ways. It's already finished downloading. I just got the notification.
Oh, yeah.
Like Resident Evil 4 and Jedi Survivor are like the two big games that were very early this year. Especially Resident Evil 4 was March, Jedi Survivor was late April, early May. I definitely want to do another run through them just to see if I still feel the same way. Like I reviewed Jedi Survivor really highly. I don't know if I
Yeah.
still stand by that.
I'm thinking part of the reason I got hurt so bad was jumping into the middle of the game. And even though it was a really big set piece that I could have
Mhm.
jumped into, like, I feel like Fallen Order had big set pieces that I was really excited for in moments like that. But for
Mhm.
whatever reason, that one just left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm hoping that restarting the game because I did like the Coruscant segment. That was really great.
I
loved
replayed it recently as I was testing the 60 frames thing.
Was it Jeddah? That whole segment with the crazy squid thing.
Storm, and not only the storm, the big storm, sandstorm at Jeddah also. Really beautiful moment.
It's really beautiful. I feel like it dragged a little bit for me, but that's not here nor there. Anyway, yeah, Jedi Survivor had some great stuff, and I feel like because I jumped in right in the middle of this big, like, set piece and lull, that I just wasn't really feeling it all that much. I also don't like that High Republic guy as a villain.
Just Dagan.
Yeah. I didn't like
the
him.
Dude without the dude without the arm. Even though he wasn't the real villain, he was just a red herring.
I know, he still, like, his whole segment of the game just, it felt weird for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I feel like what makes me more sad, especially now looking back at Jedi Survivor, and the big thing I didn't want from that game is for it to be buggy, especially that was the big problem with Fallen Order. The fact that this game, that happened again. It happening twice, even though the game was better, that still hurts more, especially now when you see more polished stuff around it. Like, dare I say, Hogwarts Legacy was more polished.
I'm not gonna jump into that one.
Yeah.
I think I would have to really think back on how my experience was with both of those.
At least for me it was. But I also played it way later. So
you remember I started posting some stuff where it was just really breaking down. So I might consider Jedi Survivor still technically better in a performance category. Absolutely better in every other way.
No, performance, no. Like, performance, like, Hogwarts was, like, superior from day one. Like, remember, Jedi Survivor had the worst performance mode ever.
No, I mean just performance in general, not performance mode.
Yeah, but if we're talking like bugs and all of that, yes. Remember also, like, Jedi Survivor had the calamitous PC release. That's still to this day the worst. The worst PC version of any game release, and that wasn't even a problem for Hogwarts. I still prefer Jedi Survivor as a game. It's just that.
Did that really beat Batman Arkham Trilogy for that one?
Yeah, but Arkham was 2015. We're talking 2023.
Oh, I was just saying, like, because you said ever. Like, worst PC version. And I was like, there's a lot of really bad PC versions. I don't know.
Yeah, but as of right now, like, especially with all these patches.
Okay, so. Considering that, yeah, I'll agree with that.
But yeah,
anyway, we got off on a huge tangent.
Yeah, but circling back to that, like, the polish of the Spider-Man games, like, another level to, like, these other licensed games. But I feel like Insomniac is such a talented team that they deserve to get their flowers with, like, a new IP, and they can always go back to Spider-Man. Just don't become that. Like, you're way too good of a team to, like, be relegated to that. So, story number 2, Paul. This is going to be a pair of stories focused on my most anticipated game probably ever. So, at least of recent time, like, I've never felt this excitement, like, just over the last night with seeing the preview.
Your excitement is in the stratosphere for this series, and it's kind of funny because I woke up and you had, like, 15 different things that you shared about it. I was kind of thrown off. I was like, man, I didn't think he was that excited about this. My gosh.
Yeah. So this story is going to be a feature from Game Informer by Marcus Stewart. The feature's called Square Enix Answers 6 Burning Questions About Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. After playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the first time, check out my full impressions here. You can go to Game Informer to read his impressions. I then spoke with director Naoki Hamaguchi, producer Yoshinori Katase, and creative director Tetsuya Nomura to seek answers to some burning questions. That includes how much narrative ground Rebirth covers, the decision behind splitting it between 2 discs, and if there's any form of data transfer between Remake and Rebirth. So, how did Rebirth's development compare to Remake's? Rebirth launches on February 29, a couple of months shy of Remake's 4th anniversary. According to Hamaguchi, Remake's development cycle was around 4 years, making the turnaround for Rebirth, a much larger game, seem relatively quick. It's especially impressive since Square developed and released a PlayStation 5 exclusive Intermission story expansion and Intergrade upgrade in between. Hamaguchi credits working on Intermission Intergrade for the smoother dev cycle, and as it allowed the designers to become more intimately familiar with the PS5, which Rebirth is exclusive to, and finish Rebirth within a similar time frame despite its larger scope. But at the same time, we were able to keep the development time down and be able to release in sort of this normal or standard time while having this immense volume of content, Hamaguchi says through a translator. So that's something that we're very confident about and very proud of. So, there's my dog. How much of the story does Rebirth cover? When I asked what Rebirth's stopping point will be, Tetsuya Nomura confirmed the story runs up to the end of the Forgotten Capital, aka the City of the Ancients. However, as anyone who finished Remake should know, Nomura stresses that Rebirth will not follow events in the same order or manner as the original game. Can you transfer data from 7 Remake? Oh, by the way, do you want to say something?
No, I was just thinking about like all of the stuff that they're gonna do, and then how Nomura is just insane because of like the out of order and adding things and taking things away and just how he's been doing it. So I'm like not mentally prepared for what is going to hit us for this game, but continue.
Yeah, so can you transfer data from 7 Remake? Square Enix also confirms there will be no shared progression between any version of Remake and Rebirth. That means you won't be bringing over the gear and materia earned in the first game. While there is sort of this story that they're following throughout these different titles, Rebirth is sort of supposed to be a standalone on its own, Hamaguchi explains. So there's no particular sort of growth parameters or abilities that you will be carrying over from the previous title. However, Hamaguchi does reveal that players with Remake integrate save data will receive an unknown summon materia at the start of Rebirth. I hope it's the Chocobo. Like, do you remember
wasn't that the pre-order bonus
for the Remake?
For Remake, yeah.
Maybe it was.
It's been a while. Or like a
I have blocked. Yeah, I have blocked so much of Remake launch because that was pandemic time. So that period, the entire period was so.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, because that game came out in the second week of my quarantine, or actually no, third week of my quarantine. So.
Jeez.
Yeah. So why 2 discs? Next question. Rebirth is so big that Square is splitting it between 2 discs. Hamaguchi says that the game is 150 gigabytes with 100 on one disc and 50 on the other. However, you won't be swapping discs like fans did with the original. Due to the PS5 architecture, players will first install the entire game by inserting both discs. After that, only one of them will be needed to play the full game. Hamaguchi explains the decision to split Rebirth in this way had less to do with rekindling nostalgia and more as a method to preserve the team's lofty vision for it. Square had always envisioned Rebirth as a massive, highly detailed world, more immersive than Remake's revamped Midgar. Thus, squeezing it on a single Blu-ray would have forced the designers to scale back on content and ideas, so doubling up on discs became the obvious solution. Which, by the way, this is the official first 2-disc PS5 game. Remake on PS4 was 2 discs also. Last of Us Part 2 was 2 discs. Red Dead 2 was 2 discs. So, and also fun fact, this game is the same file size as Jedi Survivor. I tell you, Paul, what I'm seeing of Remake, way more ambitious, way more beautiful. Like, it feels that there's more to it than Jedi Survivor. Why Jedi Survivor is 150 gigs, feels more like a nightmare of coding more than like fulfilling an ambition. Just to throw that out there. Now that we had that conversation with Jedi Survivor recently. So, another question: what minigames have been expanded? Final Fantasy VII's lighthearted minigames make up much of the game's charm. It was good to see some of them return in the recent State of Play trailer, but I asked Square if there was any specific minigame the team was most excited to revisit. Hamaguchi calls out Rufus Shinra's inauguration parade. In the original, Cloud disguises himself as a Shinra soldier to infiltrate the festivities and lead the march through time button presses, which it was one of the funniest things that I played from the original, seeing that. In Rebirth, players will collect soldiers and decide how to arrange them, resulting in a more hands-on approach that will result in different versions of how the parade proceeds. So this time around, we've really changed some of the aspects of the original minigame, kind of taking its elements but also really elevating that to match the standards of today and for this deeper, more fun, interesting experience, Hamaguchi says. And that's something that we would like the users to experience as well. Final question they had: what's up with Vincent? Vincent Valentine's brief appearance was an exciting highlight of the Rebirth story at September's PlayStation State of Play. We won't reveal the character's nature for newcomers, but he, like Juffy, was an optional party member in the original game, so I asked Square if that would be the case again. Nomura confirms Vincent joins the group as part of Rebirth's main story this time, but unfortunately, he won't be playable. Instead, the Brooding Warrior simply accompanies the party like Red 13 did in Remake. Nomura explains this is the case because in the original, Vincent joins the party during the back end of the story. Based on that answer, it sounds like we won't be wielding Vincent's power ourselves until the yet-to-be-titled third entry arrives. So, What do you think of some of these things? Because there's even more that wasn't even in these questions that I'm gonna look for the pictures. So like some of the things that I found. What do you think of all this, Paul?
I think I have gone past the event horizon where I am legitimately overwhelmed by the level of like new Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stuff coming out. I mean, like just any like of combination of those 3 items that you might have sent me, but you sent me about 10 to 15. It was like the dolphin thing, the new scenes of like Cloud acting like Zack, the crazy fight where you're playing as Sephiroth, all of the cutscenes around that whole flashback sequence, the fight that he has with Tifa, and it's like I'm just like so far beyond all this, and then plus all of these interview details that we don't even have actual gameplay for. I can't even wrap my head around it. So I think I'm just shutting down, and I'm like, just wake me up when the game comes out, please. Because I mean, I think I said it on our chat that I'm at least glad that I'm getting a little bit of a refresher on all this stuff, because I don't even remember the freaking dolphin.
Yeah,
I don't even remember most of this stuff.
Yeah, the dolphin is in Junon. You have to like jump in the dolphin. He's gonna throw you up at like a tower. So...
But like besides a few really big moments, I don't remember this whole second portion. Besides like the flashback parts, that parts are burned into my brain. It's just everything
because of Crisis
else.
Core also like.
Exactly. But I don't remember any of that. Like even back then, I'm trying to think, because I think I played parts of the original and then Crisis Core, because I would have played Final Fantasy VII on my PS2. The PSP was later. Anyway, I was trying to figure that out in my head, but yeah. So anyway, a lot of this stuff I don't remember, so I'm going to be glad to get reminded and potentially not remember and get gaslit on what actually happened in the original, because the remake is gonna throw it all out the window.
Yeah, that's kind of, I'm actually really curious about that, especially because now 7 lives rent free in my mind. I recognize so much. In fact, like some of the silliness that I've been recognized is so amazing. Red 13 riding a chocobo is like the greatest visual I've ever seen. It's so hilarious, it's so stupid. The tag attack, you mentioned the dolphin, the tag attack you see of Cloud jumping in the dolphin that helps him with like one of the boss fights. Like I'm glad that they're embracing the silliness. That's something that I absolutely loved about 7 in general when I played it. It's like, it's such a serious game, it's such a tender game, it's such a silly game all together. It's like it's crazy. So much of it is like fits together like it does. And now we're seeing it in this level of fidelity. And let's move it to the other piece of Final Fantasy news we got here, because this is more of interest to you. This is now moving over to IGN. A story by Rebecca Ballantyne. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will include a new episode with Zack. Zack Fair fans, do we have some good news for you? That's what IGN says. Not only do we know that the smooth-talking hero of Final Fantasy Crisis Core will appear in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but it looks like he's getting an entire episode all for himself. We learned this in our recent interview with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth producer Yoshinori Kitase, in which he talked briefly about some of the differences between Rebirth and the corresponding segment of the original Final Fantasy VII. Kitase said that the order of certain events in the storyline of Rebirth might differ from the original, and the order in which characters join the party has been reimagined, but largely Rebirth tells the story of Final Fantasy VII from the end of the remake up to the Forgotten Capital sequence. But also, it seems like it adds a bit more involving Zack specifically. Furthermore, as you know, within the original Final Fantasy VII, the character Zack Fair is one that doesn't appear as much in the original title, he said. However, we see at the end of Remake that he has appeared, which, you know, is quite a difference from the original title. As for Rebirth, there will be a new episode with Zack that will contain even more of him than the remake. I'm not able to say much more than this, as I would like for players to play and experience this with it in their own hands. That's all they're saying for now on Zack's role, which seems to be somehow tied into some of the mysterious plot shenanigans in Remake involving the Whispers of Fate. Zack got a glow up not too long ago with the release of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is a remaster of the original Crisis Core. Crisis Core serves as a prequel to Final Fantasy VII and stars Zack, who interacts with characters like Cloud, Aerith, and Sephiroth before their roles in 7. we recently saw a major new teaser for Rebirth at the Sony State of Play, where we got a look at Kate Sith, the Gold Saucer, Vincent, and a lot more. We also learned that it will feature 100 hours of content, possibly including one very specific scene fans are, quote, dying to see. Yeah, Rebirth is currently planned for a February 29, 2024 release date as a PS5 exclusive and won't hit other platforms until at least 3 months later. Our boy's back. Our boy Zach is back. He's going to be playable.
I'm terrified because the way he died, obviously, like spoilers for a 20-plus-year-old game, but even further now. God, where are we at with that?
30.
30.
No.
I thought it was a 96. So that would
97.
be like 97. Okay, so we're still a little bit closer to 25 years than 30. But
it's
anyway,
got to be 30 in 2027.
Yeah, I'm losing my train of thought. So yeah, the fact that like we watched this guy die in like just the most epic way possible for Crisis Core. They really beefed up his death. We got to see it in full HD 720p clarity. And now that they're bringing him back to be potentially alive and or have some terrible things happen to him, all I can think is now he's going to finally get to meet the love of his life moments before she gets freaking impaled.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that because it's very interesting that they're mentioning where this game is going to end. And there's been watching by the way, it's like, if anyone wants to see what real hype for this game looks like, go to Maximilian Dude's YouTube and see him talk of Final Fantasy VII. He's like, it feels like he enters the live stream whenever, like Final Fantasy VII's live stream, whenever he talks Final Fantasy and like throwing so much of the like theories of based on what they're seeing. The trailer show a lot of Sephiroth talking about rebirthing and like timelines coming together and all of that. Based on like how 7 Remake ended, that with the silhouette of Zack passing Cloud, it's kind of like it's kind of like suggesting that where we are with Cloud and the gang is still the normal timeline, but a split timeline happened when the Whispers of Fate got defeated, and there's gonna be like dual timelines going. Which ironically, I've also been like playing a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII. That is in that game. You play as what is his name? The different name, I forgot. Squall. You play as Squall, and then suddenly you're playing in a completely separate time with a different character, a guy named Laguna, and it's like a dual story.
Oh yeah, that's the guy with the machine gun, right?
Yeah, and the long hair and the long hair and all that. That looks suspiciously a lot like Squall. And there's room, like, and it's never really implied, but apparently maybe his dad or something like that. But it's something that he's dreaming and he sees like that. Maybe they're like adopting 8s. They're gonna adopt like the thing that happened with 8, and we're gonna follow Zack going through like the events of what would have happened had he actually like lived, which is like what we see now. And then those two timelines, the convergence point is gonna happen now at the Forgotten City. Yeah. At the moment, and what are the posters showing so often? They show us Cloud and Zack like next to each other with Sephiroth like in the middle. Are both gonna witness the moment.
Yep.
Oh man, I am so pumped to see how how all of that the shenanigans play out. This is so close, but this is gonna happen 2 months into 2024. Like this is like before this one of these games of like, man, it's like this is 6 months out, we're gonna play it until now. But I'm glad that we have so much to play until then, and I'm glad that I became a big Final Fantasy stan when I did. That I finished the original game. I thank Crisis Core for starting the ball rolling last December. Finally playing this original one. Like now I'm like, I tell you, every time that I see something of this game, like I get excited. It's like I don't get excited for games often like I do with this. Even last year with Ragnarok, I didn't let myself get excited. If you remember, like
you held off for a really long time, and now I think I'm kind of in your position with that because
with Spider-Man.
Hang on.
That was Spider-Man.
Sorry. Anyway, choking. Yeah, so I'm hoping that they actually pull through all of this. I hope that they deliver. But at this point, it's one of those situations where they have a lot of setup And there's a lot of people that are really, 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 really good at setup, and one of those is Tetsuya
yeah.
Nomura. And you know who's also really, really, really bad at payoff? Tetsuya Nomura.
Yeah.
So I kind of have some little mixed feelings about where he's going to go with all this, and I'm hoping that.
And you know who's creative director, but it's not like working on the day to day of this game? Tetsuya Nomura.
Thank God. Yeah, because it's that other guy that's actually writing all of this, isn't it?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
and also the guy Yamaguchi is the director of this game. Like, and he was co-director, and people were like trying to like poo-poo Maximilian Dude when he kind of mentioned that is like because we were like, oh, you're downplaying Nomura's like involvement because there's this anti-Nomura sentiment, all that to fit your narrative. But like there was this interview that came out that Nomura mentions that him like receiving that creative director like moniker is what helps him like oversee so many different games, because he has other people, different writers, different directors that are always there moment to moment, like handling all this stuff, and he just kind of like sees it kind of like as an executive producer or like a showrunner, like they're just kind of like in the macro thing. So Kingdom Hearts, that he was in it like from writing to like fully directing and all that one-on-one. This is more of like a collaborative effort. So, and we know that it was Nomura that revealed that apparently like things were gonna get even more wacky in Remake, and he held them back. I was talking with Duchess about that, and we're laughing hysterically. It's like everyone like loves making fun of like the famous Nomura stink of things, like, and it's so funny. He's not the one writing it. He's just the only one enabling it, and everyone attributes it to him. That's what I always find so funny. It's I can't wait. Like, regardless of where it lands, it's like I don't think I have another game after this that I can even be excited about. It is like this is the end of the line for me. Like, we've ran out of games now.
This is the last thing that's been very specifically confirmed for this year. Like, all I can think is maybe the Wolverine game, Tekken.
Yeah.
Well, this comes out after Tekken, so
yeah. So it's like
I would need a refresher on what else is coming out. Honestly,
when it comes to like things for me to be hyped about or something, it's like we feel like we're in the point where now things got to start getting announced. Like, because otherwise, to me, the only hype that I'm gonna ride is this, and whenever the third part joins in. Yeah. And I bet you top dollar is gonna come out in 2027 to coincide for the 30 years. So very, very pumped. Your people have already been spoiled with what my number one most anticipated game is for next year. Even though we're still gonna record that episode because I want to see what else is in that year. Time for some hilarity, Paul, because our beloved Microsoft suffered the worst leak in their history and one of gaming's worst leaks ever. So,
are we skipping the other thing that we were going to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick then.
At least mentioning it.
Yes. So story number 4 by Chris Collin from VGC. Ubisoft announced The Division 3 with Massive Entertainment set to develop. The publisher announced that Julian Garrity, who's currently serving as creative director on Star Wars Outlaws, has also been appointed executive producer of the Division series. As part of the announcement, it was confirmed that the Division 3 will be one of the projects Garrity will oversee, and that Massive Entertainment will be leading development as it has done with the previous 2 games. As executive producer, Julian Garrity will oversee all of the Division games and products, including Tom Clancy's The Division 3, led by Massive Entertainment, who is actively building a team for the game, Ubisoft's statement says. In this new role, Julian will drive the many interdependent production elements of the Division brand in a unified direction. This includes development oversight, operations, and creative vision together with the development teams around the world who are currently developing the mobile game, Tom Clancy's The Division Resurgence, Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland, and Tom Clancy's The Division 2. According to Ubisoft, Garrity will continue to work on Star Wars Outlaws until the game is completed. Julian remains fully committed to making Star Wars Outlaws a success both for the development team and fans, Ubisoft says. He will remain on the project through launch to ensure the game meets its intended creative vision and provides a great experience for players. In a statement, Garrity said, "There are only a few games that I can generally say blew me away the first time I saw them, and Tom Clancy's The Division is one of them. I was immediately hooked, like so many others who are part of our devoted player community. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to continue to build incredible and unforgettable experiences in this amazing world with the most talented teams around the world. and I can't wait for what's next. The fact that they just announced this with a press release was like super bizarre and throw like in the middle of like such a busy day like with the TGS of it all. But I'll say this: I like the Division a lot. I like the first one a lot, especially the second one. Yeah. It's a better game, but I like the setting less. But it's like
there was something about that Division 1 where it's like, hey, there's an outbreak, but it's not zombies. It's just people are freaking dying, and like you're trapped in the endless like
snowy
skyscraper jungle that is snowy New York, like you're saying. And it was eerie. It was like you could feel the cold more than see it even. And then that dark zone mode was like, it was I'd never seen anything like that at the time, and it was really cool. I really liked the concept, and I wish that it had kind of held my attention more than it ended up doing. Honestly,
the first Division, like what screwed them is that they didn't have a real content cadence plan, because eventually the game got kind of broken with some patches, and they needed to like rework a bunch of stuff. And then by the time that they updated it with like the survivor mode, the underground mode, and all that, it was like not real expansions. So it was like a weird product, but mechanically solid, like really well made. It's one of Ubisoft's more fun games that came out that generation, like right before the homogenization of everything else that they did that gen. The Division 2 was like one of the better launches for the live service because it learned all the right lessons. In fact, seeing what the Division 2 at launch was compared to Destiny 2 at launch, it was like in Destiny 2 you saw like a team completely disregard all lessons. The Division 2 learned all those lessons. It's just that then they leaned into more stuff that made it less special in a way. Like there was heavy story moments in the first one because they were building the lore. There was barely any story in the second one. The setting of the overgrown setting of Washington is like just not as appealing to be living in compared to like snowy jungle, like concrete jungle of New York. And in fact, when they did the Warlords of New York expansion for Division 2, that's when that game got even better, because taking you back to New York, even though it's not snowy, so much better vibes. There's just something cool about New York that's not cool in Washington. And I'm glad that the Division 2 then got weird support. Then they kept repeating like seasons, and they were it was kind of like in live support. Then they added new year content like in year 5 to be like, no, it's not there. We're still gonna keep doing that. So it's like the Division has been like in this weird wishy-washy. It's like, is it still something that's happening? Is it not happening? Then we got Hardland, the free-to-play one that got announced that it's still not out, the mobile one. It being a third Division game at least makes me happy, because there were some concerns for some people that were very angry that Massive went to work on Avatar and then Star Wars Outlaws, and be like, it was the kind of like some of my concerns of like, man, all these talented teams are being subsumed into the IP game, and they're like leaving behind their original ideas. Like, what's happening? They're having their cake and eating it too. Outlaws looks great. Avatar looks great. The Division 3, I'm sure, will be great. This is what I want from Insomniac. They had their original stuff. They're working on the IP stuff. You can do all of them. Do all of them. Don't make just IP stuff at a time where development takes forever. Kill the creativity of the industry. So I'm glad that they're still sticking with their thing. So can't wait to see more. Let's see whenever they showed up. If they just announced it in the press release, means that this is just starting. And Outlaws is next year, so they're gonna start this when he's done with Outlaws. But if this is the guy that made those games, working on Outlaws and going back to it, we know that's a relatively great guy at the manning the ship. So see you at the Division in 2027 probably. We'll see when you're
one day.
One day. Now officially the big one, Paul. Microsoft was reportedly responsible for this week's giant Xbox leak. Story by Tom Ivan at PGC. That will be our last story of the day that has an addendum to it. So, documents published on a court website overnight as part of Microsoft's legal battle with the Federal Trade Commission, FTC potentially let bare key elements of the company's gaming strategy for years to come, including plans for unannounced console hardware and games. Citing a person said to be familiar with the matter, Bloomberg claims that Microsoft accidentally uploaded the information to the court's website. Douglas Farrer, director of the FTC's Office of Public Affairs, also said the agency wasn't behind the leak. The FTC was not responsible for uploading Microsoft's plans for its games and consoles to the court website, he said on Tuesday. And an update to the story, the judge in the case, Jacqueline Scott Corley, has confirmed that Microsoft inadvertently was the one that provided the court with a link to the unredacted documents in question, which it then uploaded to the internet page established for the case. So, the leaked documents included the following revelations, and all of this could have been individual stories. We're not going to read them all, but just the headlines alone say everything.
Yeah.
So, 1. Microsoft is planning to release a redesigned Xbox Series X console codenamed Brooklyn with a new design and controller. And just because I read some of the story, the big thing of that thing is that it's not going to include a disk drive. So there's been a lot of consternation about, are they finally pushing again into the old digital future? What happens to preservation thing? Like if it was 2013 again. So another headline, this one like caused diarrhea and made the monopolists like be like, see? Microsoft's gaming boss Phil Spencer told colleagues in 2020 that he saw Nintendo as a key acquisition target. Another headline that came out of this, unannounced.
Real quick, before you say that, I need you to never say that earlier sentence again.
Diarrhea?
Just the way you phrased all of that, I was just like, that is disgusting, my guy. Oh my gosh. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, another headline, big ticket headline. Unannounced Bethesda games include Indiana Jones 3, A New Doom, Oblivion, and Fallout 3. And it's not. I already said this. Yeah, I already said.
You
this
said
Indiana
Indiana Jones 3.
Oh yeah, because Indiana Jones is at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it includes Dishonored 3, A New Doom, Oblivion, and Fallout 3 remasters, and a trilogy of Indiana Jones games. The next evolution of the Xbox controller will have improved haptic feedback, an accelerometer, speakers, and a rechargeable and replaceable battery. Another headline: Microsoft seemingly plans to harness the power of cloud processing in its next-gen Xbox console, which could launch in 2028. Another plan includes Microsoft plans to let players customize the appearance of Xbox Series X consoles in the future, which is kind of like how they do the design lab, where you can go and like design your own controller with your own colors and all that. And then also Microsoft assessed a range of third-party options to fill a huge hole in its lineup caused by Starfield's delay, including potentially paying $300 million to get Star Wars Jedi Survivor on Game Pass at launch. So this was a bunch of like all the headlines that came out of that. It's like, never have I seen like a company's decade-long plan be laid bare. This is absolutely like, this is terrible for them, because it's like the competitors got to see everything. And let me just add like the other addendum to the story, also by Tom Ivan from BGC. Microsoft says major Xbox leak consists of old emails and documents. And then addressing widespread coverage of the confidential materials, Xbox boss Phil Spencer claims so much has changed since the emails and documents in question were written or created. We've seen the conversation around all the emails and documents, he tweeted. It is hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed, and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future. We will share the real plans when we're ready. So, that was them trying to be like, yes, like a lot of those plans, like, they're all news. Like, don't take too much stock in that.
Yeah.
Bullshit alert.
It's easy to be like, oh, don't.
Yeah.
It's literally the Wizard of Oz moment where he's like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And you know why he answered specifically that? Because out of all these headlines, the one that like brought people like that, the one that sent the alarm bells, was the Nintendo thing. I'm gonna open the story really real quick. Xbox Phil Spencer was targeting a Nintendo acquisition in 2020, leaked emails reveal. In unredacted court documents published overnight, seemingly in error, Spencer discusses the potential Nintendo acquisition in an email conversation with Microsoft Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer Takeshi Nomura. While discussing a potential TikTok acquisition, remember they were gonna buy TikTok back in 2020. This happened back then. Nomura, what is time? Nomura asked why Microsoft wasn't pursuing a company like Nintendo instead. Spencer replied that this was exactly what he wanted. Takeshi: I totally agree that Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming, and today gaming is our most likely path to consumer relevance, Spencer said. I've had numerous conversations with Nintendo about tighter collaboration and feel like if any US company would have a chance with Nintendo, we're probably in the best position. The unfortunate, or fortunate for Nintendo situation, is that Nintendo's sitting on a big pile of cash. They have a board of directors that until recently has not pushed for further increases in market growth or stock appreciation. Spencer went on to say that former Microsoft board member Mason Morfit, president of Value Act, had been heavily acquiring shares of Nintendo, and that this could create opportunities for Microsoft. The exec also suggested that he believed Nintendo's future exists off of their own hardware, but claimed it was taking a long time for the company to see that. Without a catalyst, I don't see an angle to a near-term mutually agreeable merger for Nintendo and Microsoft, he explained. and I don't think a hostile action would be a good move, so we're playing the long game. But our board of directors has seen the full write-up on Nintendo and Valve, and they're fully supported on either if opportunity arises, as am I. Spencer concluded, at some point getting Nintendo would be a career moment, and I honestly believe a good move for both companies. It's just taking a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists off of their own hardware. A long time. The discussion took place around a year and a half before Microsoft announced its intention to acquire Activision Blizzard. Of course, it's not the first time Microsoft has considered acquiring Nintendo. According to a 2021 report exploring the origins of Microsoft's console business, Nintendo laughed their asses off when Microsoft approached them regarding a possible buyout 20 years ago. The first company we reached out to buy was EA. They said no thanks. And then Nintendo, recalled Microsoft then head of business and development Bob McGreen in an interview with Bloomberg. Steve made us go meet with Nintendo to see if they would consider being acquired, added Kevin Backus, Xbox then director of third-party relations. They just laughed their asses off. Like, imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That was kind of how that meeting went. Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard has been heavily scrutinized by regulators around the world amid concerns about antitrust issues during a time of increasing consolidation in the gaming industry. So, this is a monopolist at work, if that is the goal. Imagine that's why like that's why he came forward when this was the one out of all of these that like rung the alarm bells, because this like is completely shatters the positive PR spin that they've tried to put of them gobbling the industry like they currently have been doing with Bethesda first and everything that's still going with this stupid acquisition of Activision Blizzard. So this fully just like anyone that wants to say that Microsoft is not a monopolist, fuck off. Like, you have it. It's in writing. The fact that you have it there, like, where they would even consider, like, you had like people of that board of directors like buying shares to set up for like the potential for like a hostile takeover. Even if Phil Spencer was like, that wouldn't be the right idea. But the fact that they've been like, when a board of directors start buying shares, what's the intention? Mm-hmm. Like that's like you're signaling your intent there, and this is, to me, this feels like further crossing the line, like further crossing the line of like just
they got literally sued already forever ago for trying to be a monopoly. Mm-hmm. I think it's about time that they're gonna get sued again. Mm-hmm. They've I don't know how they've avoided it. Mm-hmm. By like making a couple of half step back for every 2 steps they take forward, and mm-hmm. somehow that's convincing everybody to step back and not shut them down. Mm-hmm. Also the fact that it's only available for American companies, and mm-hmm. a lot of the other ones are like, well, we'll just fund you with our government and then you can be as big as you want and buy all of the things. Looking at you, China. But it's realistically, it's just ridiculous. So I hate it, but I feel like there's nothing anybody's gonna do about it.
Yeah, like right now there's been like conversation that, because this was a discussion in 2020, to be fair, because this happened around the time that WB Discovery, WB and AT&T was trying to slim themselves off because they were about to be acquired by Discovery. And they were talking about like selling off the gaming division around August of 2020. This was around the time I remember the rumors of that apparently Microsoft was interested, because it was like they put it in the market. In this case, because someone was like willingly selling things off instead of like trying to acquire it like wholesale. And the Nintendo conversation just happened because they were already having those conversations already. But it's like that's kind of how you know like what their goals are. Is like Microsoft is just a creatively bankrupt company. It's like everything that they have is because they have bought it or they're copied it from somewhere or from something else. In gaming, the most positive they've ever done with gaming, Paul, is online. Like they were because of Xbox, we have online multiplayer like we have right now. Like they were the trendsetters. Like they put an Ethernet port in their console at a time where dial-up internet was the thing. Everyone laughed at their face and be like, why are you putting that? No one is using Ethernet or broadband. That's never gonna be a thing. It's too expensive. It's like dial-up is the way. Look where we are now. Who uses dial-up now? So it's like achievements, the achievement system, trophies. That's how Sony like copied that for trophies. The Xbox Live, the digital storefront on console that that was already on PC with like things like Steam and all that, but it's like on console, it was like they're the ones that set that up. Now, like, look, it's like very positive. How can I say, like very positive online ecosystems where you can buy games like like we do now. Like they started that, and they started that. But when it comes to like creativity, it's like, yeah, they had never ever created something like from the ground up that has been like super. Even Halo. Think about Halo. Yeah. Like Halo, they didn't even create. They bought it. Halo was going to be an RTS for Apple. They bought Bungie. And then they asked, if there's a way that you can make this like more mainstream, what can you do? And that's how they made it shooter. So any of like the big Xbox series that they've done, like have either been partnerships. Like when they got Gears of War, that was in partnership with Epic. They didn't own Epic. In fact, they bought the Gears of War franchise from Epic after Gears of War 3. So, and the only thing that has come out nurtured from them that has found success was Sea of Thieves recently. But then when when many people think of like things that were nurtured from like the ground up that have come from them, is like very, very slim pickings. It's always been partnerships. Like Mass Effect was associated by them. They only published the game, but it was like they didn't create. That was Bioware. So it's like that's just what Microsoft is like they just grow by brute force of their war chest. And anyone, like especially one of those retards in the Xbox camp that are just like partisan like clowns they're in social media, they're always trying to like cheer for the corporations and all that, which by the way, so there's also Sony retards. There's many retards in fanboyism in all of them, and I don't care.
Like
I'm not gonna be political correct.
That word stole the soul from your body just now.
And that's I run out of gas, but yeah, it's like that want to like cheer, especially like in the constant consolidation of the industry and all that. Is like that's now we know it's like Activision Blizzard's not gonna be where they stop. It just won't. Like They will want to keep acquiring, and they got lucky with Activision that they wanted to sell because they're trying to escape a sexual harassment thing that people have still forgotten that's still a thing, Paul. Like that's still ongoing. It's just like,
let's face it unfortunately worked.
Yeah, it worked perfect. Yeah, it worked perfectly. It's like they found the perfect smoke screen because that's still ongoing. It's just that the whole acquisition thing kind of like overtook that entire conversation. And Bethesda got acquired because they were in trouble. They were like getting into the online bag. They like their reputation was in taters. It was that or Bethesda was gonna go under. It's like whether we don't love Starfield like we started, at the very least that game came out just because they got acquired by them at the very least. But they bought both those publishers because they were in trouble. So the only way that Nintendo, here's what's happening. If Nintendo didn't get acquired during the Wii U era, their most disastrous era, they were able to weather the storm, and now Nintendo's they got the third most popular system ever made, like with the Switch. They weathered the storm. It's like they will never be able to acquire Nintendo like that way. It's like Nintendo's too proud of themselves. Also, they don't need it. Like they're so big, they have their own theme park now. But rest assured, Microsoft's gonna keep being Microsoft, and they're gonna be still the creatively bankrupt company that will try to buy its way to the top, until they finally prove that original creative ideas of the things that they bought come out from them. Is like that's why to me they will always be like a distant third for me in respect and how I consider their games. Like that's just how it is. I appreciate Game Pass though. Great for me as a consumer. With two of the games that we played this week was like for Game Pass. That's the one thing that I will always give them their props. Whether it's sustainable or not, if you have to be paying $300 million to try to get a game on Game Pass, we understand why Sony does not want to get into that game. Like they want game. That's the kind of price that they have to like pay for try to get content to launch day one there. So crazy.
That's all. I have nothing left to add besides
I'll say this:
corporate's gonna corporate.
Yeah, I'll say this: like I feel very not sorry about them having this. Like it's like screw corporations. Like screw corporations. And I'll say if a leak like this happened to Nintendo and PlayStation, I would equally gobble it up. Like corporations aren't our friends, especially in PlayStation side. I want Jim Ryan out. Remember. So we need that man out. And with that, Paul, we reached the end of the news cycle here. Read us the games that are coming out for the week of September 24th to September 30th. The end of the month.
We have.
September's over.
It's already over. I can't believe it. Next month, I found out on my way to work today. Next month will be a year since I found out about my new job.
That's crazy.
Brought me out here in the first place.
Can you really have fast time went? Damn.
Never. There's so much changing. It's wild. So anyway,
read it.
This week, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on September 26. Goodness. El Paso, Elsewhere on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC. It's September 26. Minako's Night Market on Switch and PC, September 26th. My Time at Sandrock, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch, September 26th. I'm starting to sense a trend here. Paleo Pines, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, also on September 26th. Infinity Strash, Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai. Wow. DAI, by the way. The Adventure of Dai. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC on September 28th. Sonic Frontiers, The Final Horizon on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, September 28th. Cocoon, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on September 29th. Cypher 007 iOS on September 29th. And lastly, EA Sports FC 24, formerly, that's the FIFA one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on September 29th.
I am so curious to see how this EA Sports FC 24 game does monetarily. Because it's like it doesn't have the FIFA game, but it's that exact damn game that I've trashed in the show before. It's just like now a different name because they didn't want to pay $1 billion for a license.
Is it going to be brand recognition or is it going to be brand loyalty?
That is fine. Because I bet you top dollar the people are not online, that are ignorant. If like the FIFA eventually releases their FIFA game, people are gonna buy that, and it's gonna be like a trash.
People are only gonna see FIFA, and they're not gonna care. I mean, I remember when I was selling them, it did not matter if there was a better game. It was I'm getting FIFA.
Exactly. It's like NBA, like Madden, like these is just the brands that people just want to do minimal investment, play the same trash over and over and over again. That's what those games are. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty is the big ticket item this week. I want to hear about this Infinity Trash game. Like, it's just the fact that it's called Infinity Trash. I always call it Infinity Trash. It's so fun. It's so easy to try to call it that way. I want to see what that is for like Dragon Quest, and I'm really curious about that Final Horizon like free thing that they're putting for Sonic Frontiers that was announced at the Summer Game Fest thing, because I liked Sonic Frontiers, so I kind of want to get an excuse to play it again. So, and Cypher 007 apparently is a top-down James Bond game on iOS. I just looked it up. It's like
I wonder if they got excited after seeing the success of John Wick Hex.
Probably. It's a top-down action adventure game that puts you in the role of James Bond during a new mission. That's what the only thing that it says. So. And it hits Apple Arcade, so it's not like a free-to-play thing. So it's like an actual... The Apple Arcade games are like premium games that are part of the subscription service. So I want to hear it because I tell you, like, I'm still playing Ever Crisis, kind of like just here and there. Like, a few that like I'm getting my login bonuses because it's a gacha game. So, mobile games. Paul?
Yeah.
This is the end of this week's episode. Where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter/X. And I am going to be posting more videos and screenshots of Cyberpunk, most likely, depending on what happens. But who knows? Maybe it'll just be really gorgeous screenshots of me driving around or walking around the city. I'm so excited for that. I'm immediately dropping all of this and going to do that.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. They can find me at A_Dorsegovia on Twitter/X. They can find me at Alejandro_Segovia93 on both Instagram and Threads. And you can find my written content currently at seasongaming.com and some of my old stuff at thecriticalcorner.com. So, time for Cyberpunk, Paul. Everyone else that stayed in and listened to this episode, we thank you so much. If you like what you hear, leave us a like, give us a subscribe. and maybe leave us a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Audio is like booming, Paul. We're getting close. I get to that. Okay. So
We're getting there.
yeah, we're getting there. Like it's like I'm seeing the trends go up. It's like I'm so excited about that. So, but until then, people, let's ride to the end of the month together. See you next week. Play some games. Enjoy the million course meals that are here now, and
Press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.